Hi, this is Denise Matthew. I hope you're doing well. I'm here today to talk about the nodal shifts that we're going to be experiencing as we go through 2024. Now, when I did the 2024 overview of all the transits, I did not include the nodes, and that's specifically because there was a lot of content already, and I didn't want to go way too far ahead and it would be too much to absorb. So I was going to talk about the nodes a little bit more information about how they work in the beginning of this video. Because this nodal cycles are only going to be for 2024, I want to have a standalone video so you will know a little bit more information about the nodes so that you can use it going forward. So I hope that works for everybody. Please check out the other video I made, and I will leave the link below. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the nodes and what they mean in human design. And, if you already know or you're not interested, just go ahead and you can move forward. And I will have chapters so you can fast forward and go to the nodal shifts that you're interested in. Ra Uru used this whole analogy of having a stage and, for a play or something, and you have the stage that is all set up, or even for a movie. You have a particular place that movie takes place, and then, you could have somebody like the main character walking down the street, and you're the main character, you're walking down the street. And what does that street look like based on your life purpose, based on your life trajectory, and based on your nodes? And this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the nodes. And he called this basically your nodes are representative of your life or your journey on the plane, on the material plane, because it is your design connection. So in human design, it's not necessarily a geographical location, and instead is about a quality of an environment that is aligning with you. Now, the theory is that if you are in the right environment for you, you can live out your life purpose. But not only that, you're going to get the best opportunities for you. So it is something that can be helpful in your life. So if we look at the nodal shifts or the nodal cycles that we're looking at for 2024, this is the environment that everybody is living in. It's like a global environment that we're experiencing. Now, if in fact you are connecting to this environment in a more personal way, then it may be more impactful for you than it might be for somebody else. How you connect with an environment in a personal way is really if you are linking up in some way. If you have a hanging gate, for instance. So our first nodal environment is the gate 51 is in the north node and the gate 57 is in the south node. If you have the gate 25 as a hanging gate, and you have an open will center, this will activate your will center and it will activate a full quantum. So this is potentially going to be very impactful for you. And Ra Uru, who really talked about these kind of nodal connections as being very impactful for your life trajectory and very impactful for your life. So that is how you connect with it in a very personal way. And if you have even any of the integration circuit, the gate 57 will also connect to all those gates. So with a gate 57 activated by the south node, it gives an even more people the ability to connect with a nodal cycle than usual, because we have the gate 57 is part of integration. So that means if you have any or part of integration, the gate 10, the gate 20, the gate 34, as hanging gates, then this can be even more impactful. But especially we're talking about hanging gates that bring definition. If they bring a channel or if they bring a defined center of some sort, and it could also sometimes be two centers based on your particular body graph. So those are really impactful and personal transits. That doesn't mean that if you don't link up to the nodal cycle that it won't impact you at all. You also have to remember this is the environment you're going to be living in as a global, as an overarching layer, because everybody has their own particular environment too. So this is an overarching layer, but what I'm talking about is how you can connect with the transits of the nodes and feel how they feel for you, and how you can plan for nodal cycles that might be impactful for you based on how they connect with your body graph. So that's something we're going to talk about today. One thing to keep in mind is that the nodes move quite differently from the planets. So the nodes move in a clockwise way, while the planets, all the rest of the planets, move in a counterclockwise way. If you're tracking the sun around the mandala, that you're going to go the opposite way. So for instance, if we start with a gate 18, then the next one is going to be the gate 48. And then the next one after that is going to be the gate 57. That is the way it goes if the sun's going around the mandala. But now if we do a nodal cycle, we begin with the gate 57, move to the gate 48, then the gate 18, and then on to the gate 46. we began 2024 with the North Node in the gate 42 and the South Node in the gate 32. That's already changed, so I'm not really going to go into detail about that. The one thing that you might have noticed is that a lot of people are quitting, even on YouTube, for instance. If you are a consumer of YouTube, you would have seen a lot of creators, big content creators, giving up and being done with YouTube. Based on the gate 42, the nodal cycle of the gate 42, which we had from August 27th, 2023, right up until the 8th of January, 2024. So it was a long time that we had this nodal cycle. And you will notice that every nodal cycle is a little different. We will have at the end of the year on December 3rd, I'll talk about that a little bit later. We're going to have the nodal cycle of the gate 25 and the gate 46, but that's going to be much shorter. Literally just over like a month and a half is how long it will be in play, which is much shorter than several months that some nodal cycles can actually be. The interesting thing about this perspective of a lot of big content creators uh, giving up and stopping and not doing it anymore on YouTube is that YouTube was actually created on the nodal cycle of the 4232. So it was completely connected. So it really makes a lot of sense if you look at cycles. And the gate 42 is either about maximizing a cycle, building a new cycle on a foundation you've already built, or ultimately ending a cycle. And so this is what people were doing and are doing. I thought that was a wonderful way to see the transits in play and how the environment really does indicate, how things are playing out for planet Earth and how, people are interacting with the environment and saying, okay, this is, time for me to be done. And of course, everybody's going to have their own body graph and how they interact with the YouTube, creation date, which is actually pretty amazing in that we do have an actual time for when YouTube was created. And the other perspective is that, you might have a lot of abstract energy, which the gate 42 is, and you are being impacted because every ending comes with a new beginning or a new cycle. But then if you look at the 32, this is really about ambition. This is tribal ambition, and this is about trying to move ahead or trying to climb the ladder of life and to get in a better position because it is powered by the gate 54, which is called the Marian Maiden, where you're trying to elevate your life in some way. And usually it's financially. The whole point of this cycle is to get the material abundance that you want. And so that was an interesting perspective. Now, we weren't into the Gregorian New Year very long when the 8th of January, the nodes changed. They went into the gate 51 in the north node, as I mentioned, and the gate 57 in the south node. So this is bringing a very different energy from the abstract and tribal energy of the gate 42 and the 32. Now we're moving into with the 51 and the 57. It's a very individual energy. The 51 is the gate of shock, but it is also connected to the 5125 channel, which is a channel of the shaman, priestess, and it is about a spiritual connection to something bigger than yourself, but also it could be from the perspective of competition and being competitive. This is about being first in the line, the gate 51 on its own. And it can be a little bit more impactful on its own because it doesn't have sort of, you could say, the counterbalance of the gate 25, which is the love of spirit and the universal love. So if we look at the perspective of how the nodes work, where we go from the south node to the north node, we would look at the gate 57 beginning the nodal cycle and then the gate 51 finishing up the nodal cycle. Now, there is no line in the sand that says, okay, you go from A to B, but that is a potential that you see more of one thing in your environment and then more of another thing in your environment based on the actual themes of those gates as a nodal cycle moves forward. So in this case, we would be moving from the gate 57. The most important thing to think about with the gate 57 is there's this potential for a fear of the future. The gate 57 is an awareness gate. In fact, all the nodal cycles that we'll be talking about are all awareness gates or also called fear gates. So they do bring this perspective of fear of certain things. For the gate 57, it is a fear of the future. What is the future going to bring? And this is talking about potentially your personal safety, could be those types of things that are fearful. But the one thing to always keep in mind with any of the awareness gates is they do bring awareness. So as much as you might have anxiety or fear, There's also an awareness that comes that gives you a hit of intuition, especially with the splenic gates, because all the awareness gates are connected to the spleen, which is the oldest intuition, but also the most reliable intuition. The one caveat with that particular intuition is that it is something that comes very quick. It gives you a hit of intuition, it gives you some information, and then it goes. It doesn't give you a second chance to get the message. So that is why connecting with the way your intuition works is really important, because that way you won't miss any valuable information that your spleen is trying to give you, or your intuition is trying to give you. So if you don't have a defined spleen, but the gate 57 gives you definition, maybe you have a hanging gate 20, the gate 57 comes in and it connects a full channel. So you have the 5720, which is intuition right to the throat center. And now you have splenic definition. So this is really impactful for you, because what it does is gives you this intuitive ability to connect with that energy, to feel what it feels like for you, and to know that when, because this is temporary, all these transits are going to be temporary, but to understand what it feels like. How does your intuition talk to you? Because there will be times when you will get the linkage that you need, or you'll get the transit that you need, or you'll get the electromagnetic energy that you need to bring back that intuition. And you'll be able to read that message because you have had that experience. Because that's the nice thing about these nodal transits. They last for a fair bit of time. So you have more time to sort of work with this energy and decide, okay, how does this work for me? How do I get my intuitive hits? Those types of things. So this is a wonderful opportunity for a lot of people to connect with their intuition and to see what it's saying, and to be able to use it as a stepping stone for the future. So with the gate 57 in play, we have this overlying environment of potentially fear, because not everybody knows that the fear has something more to offer. That the fear is something that you can look into and see what it's actually trying to say. The thing about the gate 57 is it always gives you a message in the now. So in other words, if you're in danger, or something is off, or there's something that you need to know, it will tell you at that moment when you need to know it. So it will always give you the message you need. And that is the key, to remember that the message will always come at the right time for you, so that you know. And it is about connecting with your intuition. Gate 51, as we talked about, the North Node, would be a theme that you could potentially have on the second half of the cycle, or later on as the cycle moves on. And as I said, there is no line in the sand where we can say this is the first half and this is the second half. It's just something you can feel into. But this transit is going to be in play right until May 10th, 2024. So a lot of time to be able to work with this energy. So you might even see it on the world stage. Again, this is a global cycle, a global nodal cycle that everybody is kind of connecting into in some way, whatever it is for you. So you might see more shocking things that are happening in the world, or you might see people who are going on spiritual quests, because this is the gate 51 is, like, as I said, about the shaman, but it's also about a spiritual quest, walking forward and looking for that thing that will change your life. It can be shocking experiences, both spiritually or just physically, that shifts your trajectory, and you can never look at the world in the same way. So these are the types of energies that this can bring. And on May 11th, 2024, we have the North Node moving into the gate 21, and we have the South Node moving into the gate 48. Now, this nodal cycle is much shorter than the one before, the 51 and the 57. This is bringing in tribal and collective energy. Gate 48, again, is an awareness gate. It is also a fear gate, and this is a logical awareness gate. And it is really talking about the idea of knowing enough, being enough, and having what you need for the future, so that you have the information, the knowledge that you need. The gate 48 is also called the gate of depth. So this will be our south node going into the north node, which is the gate 21. So if you combine these two energies, because they are mirrors, we have finding the depth that you need, finding the information that you need, so that you can be in control of your life. That's the simplicity of it. Of course, it could be way deeper than that, but that's the simplicity to say, what do these nodal cycles mean on the big stage? Again, this is a world global stage. So as I mentioned before, if this brings any definition to your chart, it may be a more impactful transit for you. And the harmonics, or the other side of the gate 48 and the gate 21, would be the gate 45 for the gate 21, and also the gate 16 for the gate 48. And if you have a hanging gate 16, And maybe you have a talent or skill that you've always wanted to develop. When the gate 48 comes in play, it gives you the full channel of talent, which means that you can develop that talent. You can develop that skill that maybe you've been thinking about, but maybe didn't have the energy or the fortitude to actually sit with your process and really learn about what it means to you. And so the nodal cycle is going to bring potentially the energy to actually really want to get to the depth of things, to kind of fill your well with information so that you are getting closer to becoming an expert. Because the whole channel of talent, the 1648, is considered a logical expert or somebody who has had years of building their skill so that they've become a master or an expert in their field. And so this can give you that ability to sit with your process and kind of develop that talent, which may be more difficult or more challenging at other times. So that's a really nice benefit that we can get with this energy. Keep in mind, if you do have a hanging gate 16 and this is bringing you the full channel, it is projected energy. So being recognized for your talent is very key within this energy so that you are being seen and heard for the truth of what you can bring to the table. But with this quantum activated, the chances of that happening become greater. And another task for the gate 48 is to, in some way, work at finding solutions to the problems that we have globally and to bring some betterment to the world. So that's what's really nice because later when we have the 18 and the 17 in the nodes, then this is even going to give more emphasis on trying to improve what we have, logically trying to improve the patterns and not letting things sort of slip by as they have been sort of up until that moment. So it's really nice to see that happening. And the gate 21 will always bring some level of the theme of control. What you can do in a nodal environment where the background frequency is about control is to really look at your own life and see where you can have more control in your life and what you're producing and your process. And if you're looking at the world around you or you're looking at your life right now in this moment and you're saying, okay, well, maybe I don't have the kind of control I want in my life. Maybe I've been allowing other people to kind of tell me what I should and shouldn't do. And now you're saying, okay, now it's time for me to decide for myself what is correct for me. This is tribal energy. So it's always going to be about the resources and the material needs that we have on planet Earth, because we all do. Everybody needs to have food and some sort of a shelter. We all need those particular things, and where you feel like you are secure and you have what you need. And this is where we're coming with the gate 21, which is bringing in this impetus to get the abundance. A lot of times the gate 21, as a global environment, you might notice that there are more people out there who are becoming their own bosses, who are deciding that they want to work for themselves as opposed to other people because they feel like they're being overpowered by the system or their bosses or that type of thing, because that's a gate 21. It is about, being in control of how you bring abundance to the table. So those are themes that we might see. You might decide to take that thing that you always thought was a hobby out into the real world and see how it works. Now, keep in mind, the gate 21 is one of those types of energies. It is tribal energy. It is one of those types of energies that it's important to always remember that it is not something new and innovative. That's a different place in the body graph. This is where you're bringing something to the tribe, something that already exists in the world, and yet you're bringing your own personal spin. So if this is how you make your money, if you have the gate 45 or you have tribal energy 32, 54, those types of energies that are part of the ego circuit, it is important to remember that that can be a theme in your life about how you make your money. It doesn't mean you can't make money doing your innovative or unique things in the collective, but what it does mean is that that might have more of a pull towards how you actually do get your money and you do get the abundance that you want. And then of course you can always still do your other stuff, but that may take more because any individual energy or individual creativity is going to have most times it takes a little bit longer to be realized in the manifest world because individual energy always needs to sort of prove why it's worthwhile. So that's something to keep in mind. So we have the north node of the gate 21 and the south node in the gate 48. That's going to be from May 11th to July 20th, 2024. And then we move into the north node in the gate 17 and the south node in the gate 18. Once again, we're hitting another awareness gate. what's really interesting about the nodal cycle of the 18 and the 17 is that this is sort of the last of the awareness gates, the splenic awareness gates. Keep in mind that we've had nodal cycles from November 2022 right up until it'll be 2024 in December, that we've had all the awareness gates, all the splenic awareness. So think about that, bringing that level of potential fear to the collective. And suddenly, when we move through the 18 and the 17 and we move on December 3rd into the 46 and the 25 nodal cycle, then that's immediately going to release that awareness frequency or the fear frequency if you're not aware of what is exactly happening. And that's why, it might be very impactful at the end of this year when things kind of shift up in a different way and we're starting to see different energy. And so, this idea of this fearfulness, because there's a lot of people who have a lot of fear in the world nowadays. And, it is something that becomes more prevalent at certain times in our life. And, the global environment and what's happening and all the things that are being talked about on media, social media, all those types of things can kind of, make things even more inflated so that you have this kind of overwhelming level of fear. But that, at least with the nodal cycles, that environment of fear will at least have shifted out. So maybe you can see something a little different that maybe you couldn't see before. But also, having this time of the year ahead, 2024, for the most of it, to actually work with the energy to decide, what is true, what is awareness, and what is like the fear. And being able to separate the two is very impactful too. And with the gate 18, we're talking about the fear of authority, not authority not doing their job. In other words, the leaders are not doing their job. And again, this brings back this idea of, pushing the leaders to do their job, to get the job done, to be able to predict the patterns for the future or to plan for the patterns for the future so that we as a collective are going to be safe. And that's the biggest thing. And it's also, this idea of nothing is ever going to work out the way you want it to. That's like sort of a personal theme where you're not sure if it will ever work out because it may not be perfect enough. And this is, of course, never going to be true because life in general is not perfect. And we're here to basically do our best and let it out into the world and see how it works. And that's what this energy is about. But logic, of course, is not always going to be supportive of that. But our lives are lived through abstract energy, and abstract energy says you just jump in and you just try. And that's what's very interesting, again, when we move into the next cycle in December, which is really talking about, abstract energy, the gate 46, which is like you jump in, and this is being in the experience of life, like fully engaged in the experience of life and feeling everything that can be felt in the Maya. So we have this need to improve humanity. Now, this becomes very impactful from a perspective of logical energy, which is the patterns, the systems, the things that let us know that we are being supported and that we are safe in our environment. And from a very basic perspective that says, okay, now I know that this bus is going to come, it's going to take me to work, and I will be able to get to my job and all the things I need. So if you show up at the bus stop and it doesn't come, or the subway doesn't come, cause fear that the system is broken, that things are not going well, and then there's always that fear of chaos. And I mean, 2020 was one of those times where things started to break down, and there was a lot of fear about, what tomorrow was going to bring and how things were going to play out. And there were a lot of things that broke down and they had to be rebuilt. And, that's sort of the system was showing all the cracks or the places that it needed to be repaired. So that's what the gate 18 is bringing. It's like really saying there is a crack in your foundation and it needs to be fixed, or you need a new foundation poured, because if you don't, there's going to be trouble in the future. That's what it's bringing us. But also wrapped around it, we're moving into the gate 17, and this is really talking about, a better future for humanity, and that humanity should be served, and that we need equality for everyone, and that if humanitarian needs are not being served on planet Earth, they need to be addressed. So you have the gate 17 and the gate 18, very, very important energy for the world, because this is talking about systems that have broken down, systems that are weak, systems that are just not serving the people. This is about serving the people. This is about leadership and how people are leading the people. And are they serving the people? Are they making the world better? based on their leadership. So this is where we have leadership will be undergoing a lot of scrutiny, and that could be from a personal perspective or it could be from a global perspective where we're looking at these leaders. Now, these are not tribal leaders, these are logical leaders. Logical leadership, which will be more prevalent within this nodal cycle, we have this idea of you are the voice of the people. The leader is the voice of the people. You have to take into consideration what the people want. But remember, there's going to be a multitude of people, and some people want this and some people want that. So you're trying to do the best you can. So all logical leadership gets a lot of flack for not doing the right job. Now, if you're a tribal leader, you're going to do fine as long as people are fed and they have, the perks that you promise them, they'll do fine. Of course, if you're not providing them with the perks that you've told them you would, or the things that you've told them you would, that's when tribal leadership will fall apart. But with logical leadership, there is a lot of criticism. I mean, it comes with criticism because of the logical system, and that's the gate 18. Now, criticism is very valuable and very important, and it is something that we need for the world to be able to see what is broken. But of course, with everything, we know that things can get out of hand. And that is a potential that we will see a lot of opinions, a lot of criticism. Now, sometimes, of course, because criticism leads to the gate 48, it doesn't always have the energy to bring the change that we want. And so you could have a lot of opinions and you could have a lot of criticism, but maybe no concrete changes. That doesn't mean it will not happen, but at least people are talking about it. And this is where we're really looking at, okay, this needs to change. This can't go on the way it is. And, now we need to bolster the patterns. We need to project patterns into the future. And this is where there's potentially going to be a lot of push and drive to make the changes that are promised, to not just dither about things and to actually come up with solutions for the problems that people are having. So this is where people are going to demand that something new and a new pattern for the future is going to manifest in the world, or it's going to at least show us a solution or something that we know will be better for us to improve this environment than what we have right now. So this could be a lot of pressure to get things done, and even if you look at the perspective, if we're moving from the 21 North Node to the 17 North Node, we're moving from this tribal leadership because the 4521 channel is tribal leadership. It is the voice of the tribe. So we're moving from that style of leadership where people are being told that they will be supported to the new style of, we have a voice in how our future will look because we've supported you and we voted you in, and you have to come through. You can't just continue to talk about what you're going to do. You have to show us something concrete. This is the energy that we could be looking at for this nodal cycle. Now, for those people who have the gate 58 or the gate 62, it may be more impactful. Again, if anything is bringing you a defined center that you didn't have before, or a divine channel that you didn't have before, it has a lot of potential to be a more impactful nodal cycle for you. Then we have a new nodal cycle that's going to be happening on the 4th of December. And this goes into January 30th, 2025. So not very long. As I said, it's like a shorter cycle. This will be where the North Node is in the gate 25 and the South Node is in the gate 46. And this is where we're moving out of the awareness gates and we're moving into something new. So we've gone through all the awareness gates. The nodal cycles have completed with the awareness gates. And now we're going to the gate 46, which is the love of body, and the gate 25, which is the love of spirit. So if we look at the nodal cycle and the theme of the gate 46 in the South Node, this is body consciousness, this is serendipity, this is the love of the flesh, this is about really connecting with your body. This could be a time where the global environment is starting to really tap into their body. And I think that if you look at, as I spoke about with the transits for 2024, and we have Neptune moving into the gate 25, which is the opposition of the gate 46. Again, that's even more impetus for this body consciousness, connecting with your body, figuring out what your body's telling you. These types of things, which are very important. And, human design, the whole premise of human design is to really connect with your design. If we look at human design as in the name of human design, right? The design in your body graph is your body. And so you could say human body. I mean, not that we're going to call human design human body, but that's kind of really what it's saying. It's saying human body is your ride for your life, and your personality or your mind is there to, be having a great view of your life. But the whole purpose of your incarnation is to align with your body, because your body is material, it is manifest, and it knows this manifest world you're living in, whereas the personality doesn't necessarily know the manifest world. It thinks it knows, and a lot of times, like, we have these things that our minds will tell us, but it's not necessarily the truth for us, and what we should be doing in the future. So this is really the gate 46 is like connecting with your body, connecting with what your body's telling you, which is very helpful, because the body is going to take you where you need to go. Is your body is pivotal in your life purpose. So if we look at the gate 46 as being half of the 2946 channel, this is a channel of perseverance. This is a channel of serendipity. This is a channel of things just kind of opening up for you in a way where you've been working along, you've been persistent, you've been, going that same path, and then suddenly a reward manifests in your reality. And this is where the serendipity happens, and we have this reward that can happen. So, if you have the gate 29, and it doesn't only mean that people with the gate 29 will have rewards, but it is a global environment of people being rewarded. But from the outside looking in, keep in mind that people will think that this just kind of happened to you, and maybe you weren't working for it, because it seems like it's so easy, because you've made it look so easy. That's a channel 2946. It can be where you make things look so easily that everybody thinks that you didn't really work to get it. So that's something to keep in mind. This could be where people are having breakthroughs, where things are starting to work. So you've been working along, and suddenly all the things that you sort of were working towards start to show up in your world. And it feels like it's almost by magic, or it is luck. But again, the whole point of the 2946 channel is to be in the right place at the right time to receive the right opportunities for you. So that is something to keep in mind. This could be for everyone, where you're sort of aligning with your body, allowing it to show you where you're meant to be so that you can reap the best benefits for you. The most important thing about everybody's personal flow is that if you are in your personal flow, then that is where you're going to find all the gifts that are made just for you. Another thing that's very interesting about this nodal transit is that we began the nodal transit in the beginning of 2024 with the gate 51, and now we're closing the end of 2024 with the gate 25, which is the harmonic. So it's like you're beginning with one theme and you're closing with one theme. The whole channel is a channel of competitiveness, of course, but there's also this idea of awakening. So we could almost encapsulate the year as saying, what have you awakened to? What have you seen that has changed your trajectory? And have you seen shocking things that you didn't think were possible? And sometimes the shocking things that you don't think are possible are things that happen in your life in a way where it's exciting for you and you're happy, because you never would have expected it. You never would have believed that this event in your life could have happened, and it would have shifted your life the way it did. So, there's all kinds of shock. And I think a lot of times we look at shock as being only one way, and it's going to be unpleasant, and it's going to, ruin my life and those types of things. But there are so many different ways. Like, you could win the lottery. It's the biggest shock of your life, but a lot of people say that's a positive experience. And, these are the types of things that could awaken us to something new. It could be spirituality, of course, because, the gate 25 and the 51 are connected to this whole channel of, as much as competitiveness, it is the shaman and the priestess, which is sort of opening you up to individual spirituality. So we might have more of spirituality growing within, going forward into 2025 from this nodal shift, especially with Neptune going into the gate 25. And this type of spirituality that we're looking at when we're looking at it from an individual perspective is less about this tribal spirituality, which is like, you're basically have to follow all the rules, and more of a space where you can do religion, or you can do spirituality the way you want to do it. And that is something to keep in mind. I mean, everything can always be, every theme of in life can be kind of melded into something else. So in other words, you could have tribal spirituality because the gate 51 is the only gate that is connected to the ego will center. The remainder of the ego will center is all tribal energy. So it can be infiltrated into the tribe, but the tribe can infiltrate into spirituality and make, this your spiritual practice more dogmatic as opposed to having the freedom to feel and express as you want to. So that is something to watch out for, this dogma of spirituality where, again, the tribal spirituality is infiltrating the individual spirituality where it becomes about you have to follow the rules, where individual spirituality isn't about that. It is about being the best version of yourself, being your unique self, and practicing your spirituality the way you see fit. And that is the overarching key with the energy of the gate 25, especially where we have Neptune moving into it as well. So a lot of power for this individual spirituality that is overarching in 2024. So those are the nodal cycles that we'll be experiencing for 2024. I hope this has been helpful, and I will be back again soon. Until then, take care and bye for now.